Well, that's fine. Isn't this silly? It's kind of fun though, isn't it?
I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know what you're going to ask me, so
Oh, these will be softballs. These will be softballs you'll be hitting over the fence. I think it is 6 o'clock though. Is it 6? 5:59. 6 o'clock. Good morning, Jane.
good morning, Joe.
I'm excited to have you in here, and there's a lot of roads I want to go down. I don't know which road we're going to go down, so that's what's kind of fun. I don't like to prepare anything for this kind of stuff. But before we get ripping here, I would like to kind of set the table a little bit.
Okay.
And it's going to take me a second to get there, but I feel like it's relevant and it's important. You know, looking back on it now, ever since I was a kid, I've always had a big problem with authority.
Really?
Yes, yes. Not law and order, not law and order, but authority, right? And I don't know, probably a lot of it has to do with, growing up in a small town gas station,
Sure.
Ever since I was a little kid, when someone would pull in and the driveway bell would ding, Dad would look out the window and he'd be like, "Oh, that's Bob Barrett, or that's Mark Nouse, or that's whoever." And then when they would walk in, it was known that my job was to say, "Good morning,
Yeah.
Bob. Good morning, Mark." And but then you go to school and it's always Mr. and Mrs., and which was fine when you're a kid, but when you start to get like in junior high and high school, and your whole life you've been conditioned and taught to call people by their first name, um, address them by their first name, it gets tough when you get into the school systems, and especially teachers that always want to be authoritarian, and you got to call them Mr. and Mrs. It kind of rubs you the wrong way. But ever since I was a kid, from grade school to high school, you were the lunch lady, you were the lady who ran the food at the school, but you were always Jane. And that was always refreshing to me. And you don't realize it younger as a kid, right? And in the school system and in the community, whether you want to admit it or not, you carry a big stick. And but you've always been Jane to everyone around the community and the school. And that was always very refreshing. So thank you for that. And I suppose that's why you are revered around town here. And I think it's neat that if we were on the Family Feud, you've seen the Family Feud, right?
Yes.
If 100 people in Wilton were surveyed and I'm up at the buzzer and they say, "Name a Jane from Wilton, Iowa," the number one answer, of course, would be Jane Kreimeyer. Like, it would probably be 99 out of 100 answers would be Jane Kreimeyer, right? And so I think that's a testament to you and what you've done and why people respect you and love you without you having to be, "Well, I'm Mrs. Kreimeyer," right? So, there again, thanks.
Right. You're welcome.
Yeah,
Do you want to know why that is?
I would love to know why that is.
Do you remember Mr. Weaver? He was the superintendent.
What year-ish?
1984.
So I was 3.
Oh, well, you don't remember that.
No, I remember He-Man in 84.
Anyway, Dale and I were going to get married, and so I was Peterson then, and I was going to be Kreimeyer, and he said, "Do you care if they just call you Jane?" "No, I'd rather." He said, "Because that's going to be in a month's time, they're going to have to change who they call you." And I said, "Jane is fine with me. Mrs. Kreimeyer is in Oregon, and I don't want to be Peterson at school." So that's how we started. He said, "You can just tell everybody to call you Jane if that's okay with you." I said, "That's great. I love it." So that's why I've always been Jane. And kids, they call me Mrs. Kreimeyer out of school. I say, you can just call me Jane now. You don't have to call me Mrs. Kreimeyer. I appreciate that, but no thanks.
It takes a level of humility and being humble to do that, because a lot of teachers and educators wouldn't do that. They'd say, "No, I'm Mrs. Kreimeyer." So that's just your personality. That's not a forced thing. It wasn't something that you did because I want to be perceived as this
No.
trendy person, but it was just from the heart. I feel like it was probably a snap decision. You're like, I'd rather be Jane.
Yeah. So far, it's worked out fine.
Have you always lived in Wilton?
Always.
And forgive me because I want to dive into this, but I'm going to ask you some questions that I might kind of know some of the answer, but I want to ask it in a way like, in other words, I feel like there's a lot of people in my shoes that know you, that love you, but don't really know you. Like I know all the things that you do, but I don't know you. So I want to dive into that a little bit. So you were raised in Wilton.
Well, first Moscow, lived down on a farm. And then, well, that's where I grew up, was out there. And then 1973, my parents moved to Wilton.
From
And
the big trip from Moscow into
Moscow
Wilton,
to
2
Wilton.
miles in.
Right, right. Rode the bus. I don't usually dislike many things in my life, but I did not like riding the bus. I begged to stay at my grandma's in town so I didn't have to ride the bus. And yeah, just never moved. Well, I guess my whole family likes it here because there's only one that doesn't live here.
Who?
Sandy.
Sandy. Your sister Sandy, where's she at?
She's at Camdenton, Missouri on the lake.
She'll be back.
We keep saying we want her to come back, but I don't think so. I say that about my kids in Texas too. Now that both of their kids are here, I just keep thinking, oh, they should just come back here now.
Yeah.
The kids are here, which I love that they're here.
Tell me about your folks.
Oh my gosh, they were the best. They did. My mother, if there was a volunteer thing or something to do at school, she was always there. She fixed supper, spaghetti, Thursday nights for the boys' basketball team. Every night they went to Betty's. I just had Brandon Grunder tell me that. Did you know that, Jane? We went to your mom's. Every new person that came to town, my mom would say, come on over for supper. All the teachers, you know, that was just them. And Dad, he was a perfectionist. Us kids could never do anything up to his standard. But it was okay. But they were givers, my parents, to everything. You know, might not have been money, because they didn't have a lot of money, but if somebody asked them for something, they were right there. Always. My mom was the best.
And your folks, when did you lose your folks? How long ago?
One in 2001 and one in 2003. Actually, that's how I got back to the school. Mom died it was 2002. And I was a food broker, and I traveled all over to schools.
Because you knew the game.
Yeah, they asked me if I wanted to do that, and where I went, because I went all over: Illinois, Nebraska, Minnesota, Missouri, Iowa, and I talked to my mom on the phone the whole trip, wherever I was going, you know, and just zipped right through. And after she died, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. The first school I went to after she passed, I was crying terrible when I got to their school, and they're like, "Are you okay?" No. And so I was going to tell them, this was in December, I was going to tell them that I was going to quit. And before I got that done, they called me in the office and they were offering me a full-time job. I'm like, really? Well, I couldn't tell them.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell them. So I went home and I wrote them a letter and said, I'm sorry, I can't do this. And in the meantime, Mr. Sauer, superintendent, called me, said, Jane, we have the job for you.
Which was?
What I'm doing now.
Which is?
I do the detention room, the truancy room. I do at-risk kids. I take kids who maybe in the first half of a quarter, they flunked some classes. So they come in my room in study hall, and I always tell them I'm cracking the whip. But I just check over the grades. Do you have this done? Do you have that done? Whatever. And it seems to work.
You're the perfect person for that. And I think it ties into what I was trying to tell you earlier when we kicked this thing off. Because I got to tell you, I think I had all the ingredients to be one of the bad kids. Like, I think I had all the ingredients internally to end up in the bad kid room growing up. The only reason why I feel like I didn't is because I had a stable family structure at home. I had a community support. Because it wasn't because I could focus in school, and it wasn't because I didn't like causing mischief. I liked to do all that. I had everything to go in there because I hated authority. And I would bet that there are a lot of kids that you interact with that despise authority, and even though you're an authority figure, you don't command respect, you just get it because you're relatable, people love you. Like, how great is that? When I was telling my staff yesterday that you were coming in, I was so excited. And they said, I love Jane. Casey said it. There was a couple people in the office who were like, I love Jane. I can't wait to do that. And you ran the detention when Casey went to school.
Yep.
Now think of that. That you should be hated person number one in the school. But in reality, people adore you. I think that's great. And I think you're making a big impact on these kids. You probably don't even realize it, or maybe you do. You got any success stories coming out of there?
Well, yeah. I have lots of success. One kid quit school. He was going to be a senior.
Okay.
And he quit. Smart, very smart young man. And he came to a volleyball game, first one kind of in the fall. And I said to him, I said, why didn't you come back to school? Well, I had to do all this. I said, you and your mom be here tomorrow morning. I said, you are coming back to school and you are going to graduate. They came. He graduated. He's married. He has 2 kids. In fact, Kelly has his daughter in her class in Muscatine. He saw my picture on the wall. He said, do you know Jane Kreimeyer? Kelly said, that's my mom. Oh, he said, I would have never graduated from high school. Wasn't for her.
Wow.
So he was like my first one. And then I realized I'm pretty good at this, of getting them to, want to graduate. I've had some of them come back for a 5th year, but they still graduated. It just took them a little extra to decide what they need to do to graduate. I said, you have your whole life to work, believe me.
Yeah.
And I said, you just need to get that diploma. So what if you have to go a half a year extra? You're still going to have it. And nobody can ever take that away from you. That's what you need to remember. Nobody can ever take that diploma. That's something you earned yourself. So over the years, I've got tons of cards from parents thanking me for, helping their child reach that goal. There's only been like 2 kids that I can think of offhand that I just couldn't get the message across. They don't want to be there. They hated school.
That's a pretty good batting average.
I said, I don't expect you to get A's. If you get a D minus, I'll be happy. That's passing. That's all you need. It's not a strive to have the best grades. It's just to hand your work in and get the grades. That's what it's all about.
Where's all this come from? What do you think when you kind of sit back? Because it's a lot of work, and a lot of passion.
Well, my grandmother was a teacher. My mom was a teacher. It skipped me. And then both Kelly and Jody are teachers. So I guess must be in my genes. I don't know. I don't know. It's just I love my job. I love it. And I love it when kids come up to me, "Oh, Jane, how are ya?"
Yeah.
Give me a great big hug. But I'm getting to the age where I have to say, I recognize your face, but
Isn't that maddening?
well, you think at my age how many kids I've had
I can't imagine.
in those years, kids that actually want to talk to me. And I've had some of them say, "I didn't like you very much in school." Well, you know what? Maybe I didn't like you either.
Yeah.
But I said, we got it done. And I always say to them, if somebody gets, pretty snotty in my room and tries to rip me back, I said, "Am I disrespectful to you?" "Well, no. So why are you disrespectful to me?" Is that what that is? See, some of them don't even know that because
Right.
in their homes, I don't think they have any kind of respect. So you also got to kind of mom them too, as to what I always say. Well, what would your mom do? Nothing. That's standard answer. Nothing.
Yeah.
I said, not true. House over your head, food, get you to school, clothes. Somebody that doesn't care about you would not do those kinds of things. And I said, never hurts. Kindness. Kindness will get you a long way in this world. And I think about you. We were on the same wavelength when you were there. You run that food thing, and
The Nutrition Council,
that's,
NAC.
That's right. That's right. And
Yeah.
the Healy boy,
Dave Healy.
you both were probably strong supporters of that, and you liked that you had a say so in what we were eating.
This was
That
something I
was-
wanted to talk about because you created, when you were running the food program, you created a program called NAC, the Nutrition Something Council. I can't remember what it stood for.
I don't know.
But what it did for me is I wasn't the polished student council kid. I was not the honor roll kid, and I was not the star athlete kid. And what you did was, but I wanted to have a voice. Like I felt like I was out there, I was putting myself out there, but I wasn't the poster child for any one of those buckets, right?
Right.
And when you created that and let me be part of it, I felt like I had a voice. Like you empowered me to feel like my voice mattered, and I feel like you've done that your whole career.
Well, don't you think it did matter?
It did
Yeah.
matter. I felt like it did.
I mean, those different foods we tried them, and if most of the kids on the council liked it, we tried it.
Think
At
of that
school.
though, like during school hours, you get to leave and go down to the lunchroom and do some taste testing. You immediately became like people wanted to do what you were doing. Like I remember going to school lunch. And I remember people saying, "Hey, mate, you know what we should do?" And all of a sudden I've got I've got friends coming up to me saying, "We need this or we need that." And you think, well, I'm gonna see if I can make that happen. you know, and it just it elevated certain people that wanted to have a voice But there again, despised authority, and authority despised him back. Believe me, because it was a two-way street, and I understand why. But you opened up this thing, and there again, that's why your batting average is so high at that school. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like you're taking kids that don't have a voice, you're giving them a voice, you're letting them be heard. That's a special thing, Jane. It's a very special thing. Because I don't think a Mrs. Kreimeyer would do that, would be able to do that. Like Jane can do that, because that's who you are.
thank you.
Talk to me about your family, because growing up in this town, we know there's a lot of Mowers around town, right?
Yes.
And it's a big web, but it's hard to really understand how they all tie together. But there again, you are one of 8 siblings,
Yes.
one of 8 siblings, all of who live in town except for one.
Yes.
And to a degree, you are all involved deeply in the community, in the school district. However, what I've noticed, I don't feel like any of you are power mongers. I don't feel like there's this sense of like, well, I'm part of the Mauer family, so you will respect me. It's flipping pancakes, and it's getting involved in the school and announcing the wrestling tournaments at the school. Like there's all these things. Talk to me about your siblings. Talk to me about your family.
Well, I think they're all pretty great. I think we all just want this to be the best possible place it can be, Wilton. And if we can do something to help that, you know, we will. Sometimes people ask us to do things, and sometimes we just volunteer. Becky, my sister Becky, she's pretty involved in the chamber now. She's helping Becky Allgood. She helps with the plays.
Yep.
Get all the setup stuff for that. Lori's usually in the play. Lori's just a worker bee. She is like, she mows over to Steve's garage, so she mows Chili's too while she's there. You know, nobody just has to ask us, I should say. We just know that's the right thing to do. The right thing. Last night was a volleyball banquet, and, you know, I always go to all the banquets. When I retire from school, that'll probably cease. Nobody will probably go. That's administration. But that's okay. I love to hear the good things that happen. You know, my job is so much with the kids who get in trouble that I enjoy that part. And Becky and Terry, they still run the boosters. You know, they haven't had any kids in school forever.
And let me pause you right there. That's a key thing, because as a parent of young kids, I find myself getting involved a little bit more in the school district where my kids go. But it's very easy, the second your kids are done, the parents drop off. And that's okay. Thank you for your service. But to stick and stay, that's a different thing. That's a passion thing. That's a I really give a darn kind of thing.
Well, Terry still has one grandson, Quincy, is still involved.
Okay.
But they go to all the football games. They go to all the baseball games. They travel. Where crazy. Eric Grunder loves to have Tom drive the bus, even though he's retired from that. The kids just love him. You know, big gruff, my brother Tom, he's just a teddy bear.
Everyone, well, I'm sure there's a person that doesn't like Tom, but I feel like everyone likes Tom. Like Tom is like the big jolly guy around town, and he's always involved. He's always doing stuff, like all of you guys.
Well, and you know, and he wants to make sure that the field is the way Ryan wants it. Same way with Jake, same way with Courtney. You know, all they have to do is tell him, and that's what happened happens at school. It's just I don't know what word to describe it. It's just you don't even go home and say, "Oh gosh, I really did a good job today." We don't even think about that because it's just built in us to help people. And I think we got that from our parents. You know, it's just somebody needs something. I I don't know. I don't know where that comes from, but it's just there and you just never tell people no if they ask you to do something.
A servant attitude.
Well, I don't know, but
I
if
don't know. How
I'm
else
to
would you
the
describe
age
it? You know?
I'm to the age now, if I don't want to do something, I say no. And I never, that was not it. But there's just some things right now I can't do. But there's some things I do out of this community. I help with the food bank in the Quad Cities because the lady that runs that now used to do the race for the cure. And I used to help with that in the Quad Cities. Type in all the entries and all that kind of stuff. Now I help. I don't know how many years I've been at the Festival of Trees. It's one of the happiest things I do. Everybody there is happy. They want to be there,
Yeah.
and that's a great thing. And everybody says, "You drive all the way up here." You know, they Wilton. They probably think that's Mars. You know, I said it's not that far.
Yeah, it's the Quad Cities. Yeah.
And I usually work, you're staying all day? Okay, I drive up here and I work 3 hours. Doesn't make sense to me. I just stay the whole day and I become friends with the lady that's in charge of the department that I work. And
Specifically, what do you do at the Festival of Trees?
um,
Or is it a mixed bag?
no, it's like information.
Because I've been to that Festival of Trees, and it's an amazing thing.
It's a lot of work.
Of course, I always go to the, isn't it the Martini Shake Off that's part of the Festival of the Trees and all
No,
that?
I think you're in the wrong
Oh,
thing.
okay, then I don't go.
They don't have alcohol there, Joe.
Okay, well, there's a lot of things around there, so. But I have been through the Festival of the Trees, and it is neat. And there's been years where my wife and I have said, "Oh, we need to go to the Festival of the Trees and take the kids and everything." And then, of course, you get busy and things are going everywhere. But now I got to go because I didn't know you were part of that.
Oh yeah, information booth where they have a lady, she's a fabulous lady. They bring her, like if you get a vase of flowers or something in a basket, and what do you do with the vase after it's done? People give her all these things and she makes all the decorations on this table. She usually makes over 100
Wow.
to sell. And of course she doesn't get any money for it. She just does it because she's very good at it, and that's her way of giving. So all that money goes to the festival of trees, and we keep those for people. People want to buy a tree, they come and see us, and then the afternoon when it's over after 4 o'clock, then those people can come back and pick up their tree. But if you live within 30 miles of there, they'll deliver it free. So I bought
Wow.
a tree, and oh my gosh, they pack it all up and whatever, and they'll deliver it to your garage. You have to get it into your house. But an army can't hardly unpack the tree. They've got it packed so well. And everything, and I didn't know this until I bought the tree, but everything is wired, has to be wired on there. On the tree, they put it on a piece of plywood
Okay.
that the festival provides, and then they nail it to there, and then everything's on there, the lights, the bulbs, whatever is. And if you buy a room, sometimes they have them set up as a room, then it says on the note card, it says what goes with with the tree. like what's hanging on the wall or whatever. Like some
Oh.
people do doors, decorate doors, and
Like just a door, a loose door.
you
And it's
know, like the outside of your house. And then it says on there what goes with it. Do you get the door? Do you just get the wreath? You know, and people make stockings to sell, ornaments. We have a place called Small Wonders, and they're really intricate little things. And always one is they have these big red boxes, and if it has a red box, you can put a vote in there, and it costs $1 to
okay.
buy a vote. And you can put as many, and then they have the baskets where a lot of places in the Quad Cities donate a basket. You know, like free tickets to something or movie theater thing. You know,
People just
all
drop
different.
stuff in there.
And then we have to count all those votes, and then the last day, then we draw, and it has the name and the phone number. So the last day, we spend a lot of time on the phone calling these people, and then they can come and pick them up the next couple days.
And at the Festival of the Trees, you run like the information desk?
I I don't run it. I have a lady that's
You're
in charge.
part of it though.
Yes, yes.
But
And
you have to know a little bit about everything that's there.
yes, you do. And we
That's
have,
a
you know,
huge event that you have to know. You got to know a lot about a lot.
and you know, they just beg for people to perform on the stage. They always have entertainment. And that's kind of waned in the last few years, and I don't know why that is. Whether people think it's too much to like get, but we have a lot of little dancers, and they're all cute.
Martial
That
arts sometimes does some stuff
yes,
there.
yes, yes, and some. Okay, this is gonna. Older people are in a band,
Yeah.
and they're excited to be there, and it's just nice to have that, you know, background. Sometimes there's some crazy kids
Yeah.
up there, and
Like as far as kids performing, like wanting to really wail.
oh yeah, oh yeah. Then you
Turn
have
the
to
amp
say,
to 11,
then
huh?
you have to say what? You know, people are
Mhm.
trying to talk to you, but it is just a happy thing. People who have never been miss out. You cannot walk in that place and walk out of there not with a smile on your face.
How many years you been doing it?
Oh gosh. Probably between 15 and 20 years.
Oh, wow. This has been a big part of your life then. Is that your favorite thing you're involved in as far as
Probably
volunteering
outside of school.
outside of school?
Yeah. Yes, because they're just, and I've met, you know, a lot of friends there. Um, I'm, it's just, you just feel like a family there when the part that I work in. And the gal that runs it, Sarah, she is just the most bubbly person. She is, how could you not get there? We have to tell her to take time for herself. You know, go home for a minute. Well, I got to do this first. I got to do that. It's just like it's her baby, and she just doesn't want to leave it. You know, she feels so responsible for the part that she has in it, and
That's wonderful.
I guess that's why I just like her a lot.
Well, and you're looking forward to it because it's. I suppose you're looking forward to it. Christmas is coming. We're getting into the season, and you're going to have a
Yes,
fun time there. Can I
yes,
switch gears for a second?
it's your show.
Well, that's your show at this point. Yeah. I want to talk about how you met Dale.
Oh
Your
gosh,
late, amazing husband, Dale Kreimeyer. How did you guys meet?
school.
Through the Wilton School.
It's because he was my teacher, Joe.
Is that true?
That is true.
Okay, set the table for me.
He was the scariest guy there. Let me tell you.
Big,
Ah.
strong, Loud
He
man.
he was the AD then
Okay.
when I had it. Excuse me.
Oh, that's all right. So he was the AD in school.
And had a phone in his room, and I was in first period, and we'd all pray for Shirley Meister to come over the loudspeaker. Mr. Kreimeyer, have a phone call, because then he would be on the phone and we didn't have to do anything. And so
He would, because he was teaching and he was the athletic director. So during the course of the school day, he would get athletic director type calls that he'd have to
Correct.
deal with. Okay.
Correct.
And you were in high school at this point?
I was a freshman.
You were a freshman in high school. Okay.
Oh gosh, I hated that class.
Because what did he teach?
Biology.
All right.
I was not a science girl at all. And of course, because I like to talk, I was in the front. He had tables. Did you have him for a teacher?
I had Dale. The only thing I had Dale for was he was my track coach in junior high. I'll tell my quick Dale story, and then I want to hear this because I think this is a funny thing. Because you've impacted everyone. People probably all have a Jane story. Everyone has a Dale story. But it's the small things that people remember. The little silly small things too. There was a lot of big things, but the small thing. When I went out for track in junior high, of course my tubby short butt wasn't going to be jumping hurdles or running a mile. So I was throwing the shot put because I liked to lift weights and I thought I was strong, which I was not. And I remember Dale, when I was trying to learn how to throw the shot put, he'd go, Kreimeyer, you're trying to throw it. You need to push it. And I just remember how he used to say the word push. You need to push it. And I don't know why. Something so simple, because I could tell 100 Dale stories right now. But for whatever reason, when I was thinking about you this morning on my way in, I got to thinking about Dale as well. And then I was thinking about the way he used to say the word push. I don't know why. So anyway, Dale is your biology teacher. You're in high school, and that's the first time you ever met him.
Correct. Well, he and his first wife and kids, we lived out on the farm then. They would come out there all the time.
Okay.
My mom fed everybody. And so I was the only one in high school then, and I was like, Mom, do you have to bring all these teachers out here to eat? You know, I have them for teachers.
That would be strange.
It was, but she did. Mr. Hoagland, Mr. Hilton, you might not know them. They were always at our house. And of course, my dad, he was a beer drinker, so they all drank beer too.
That's got to be strange, like your teachers are out there having beers with your folks, and you're like, oh man, I got to see these guys on Monday. It's just strange.
That's right. And I wasn't old enough to take the car, go anywhere. So you just had to stay there. Okay, that's my first meeting with him. And he was always my mom always made him iced tea. He just drank it by the gallons in the summer when he worked for Grunders. And so he would always be at our house. And nobody thought anything about it. And I went to a wedding reception with Marilyn and Doug Keene. And my girls were there with me. And in fact, it was Jody's 11th birthday. And
so at this point, you're how old?
My 30s.
So you meet Dale. Now we're fast forward to your 30s. You've been married once before. You've got 2 daughters. You're at a wedding reception. Dale is there. Right?
And remember Jack Allgood?
Yeah.
He and Dale were very, very good friends. And I don't want to say this name, asked me to dance. And I really didn't care for this person.
Okay.
Next thing I know, here he came, grabbed me out of that guy's arm, said I'm cutting in. And
this is like out of a movie.
And I just started laughing, And there's my kids, all the girls that came to this. Like,
Because if
Kelly
Dale says
was,
I'm cutting in, Dale's cutting in, right? You weren't going to
yeah,
tell him no.
they were seniors. This was 1984. And Kelly was a senior, and all her friends were there. And Jody was there, obviously, because it was her birthday. And they're all, I can just see them. They're all like, oh, Kelly, your mom is dancing with Mr. Kreimeyer. You know, it was a.
I bet that's like a paradigm explosion. You're like, what is going on here?
So after the dance, we went to the bar. Well, the bar was closing in Durant. It closed early then, or whatever. So I said, thanks for the dance. Went back to Marilyn and Doug, and we were getting ready to leave. And Kelly said, well, we're all going together, us girls. We don't need to ride home with you. Okay, fine. Well, he comes over to Doug Keene, and he said, Doug, let's go have a nightcap. I'm like, oh, great. So there was a place in Durant called the Broken Spoke.
The Broken Spoke. What a cool name for a bar.
Yep. And so we went there. I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I getting myself into here? So we went in there and we had a drink. Well, then it's when you could buy a 6-pack of beer, take it with you.
From the
you
bar.
know?
Yeah.
From
Take
the
a few
bar.
to go.
Take a go. Doug said, I'm hungry. Let's go to Walcott. Okay, so we went to Walcott. Well, you can imagine there's a whole bunch of Wilton people in there. They're just chip, 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 chip,
Oh
chip.
my gosh. Talk
You
about
know,
the talk of the town.
You're right. You're right. And so, anyway, he didn't have a ride home.
By design.
I don't know whether it was by design or what, but we had gone in Marilyn Doug's car, and I had my car there, and he said, you want to give me a ride home? What am I going to say? No.
Yeah, no, see you later.
I mean,
yeah.
I'm still, there's this respect of him being my teacher.
How strange.
Sometimes people don't believe it, but I guarantee it's the truth. So, Dale had a paper route.
I didn't
Sunday.
know. Oh,
Sunday morning, 43 years. He had a Sunday morning Times Democrat paper route. So I take him home, and he's, I'm gonna leave. And he said, "Do you want to go on the paper route?"
Yeah, because what time of this is like going to be middle of the morning, right?
Yes.
Late night?
Yes. And I said, well, I guess I don't have any reason to go home. And I was living with Becky, my sister Becky, because that's right after her husband was killed. So Kelly and Jody and I were living with Becky at that time. So anyway, we go on this paper route. Oh my gosh. So it's like 5 o'clock when I finally get to Becky's. I'm sneaking in, like a teenager.
Yeah.
And so anyway, of course, I did not go to church that day. I was like asleep in the morning. And so when I got up, here were Liz Jenkins. Remember her?
Mrs. Jenkins?
Yes.
Yes, she was my kindergarten teacher. Same Jenkins? No, that's Barb Jenkins.
That's Barb.
I'm trying to remember Liz Jenkins.
She was the FHA. She did Family and Consumer Sciences, the home ec room.
Okay.
Her room was right next to Dale's.
Okay.
And they were good friends. And and we were good friends. And so anyway, I come out to the breakfast table. They're all like, chorus, had kind of a late night.
Oh man, I bet the ribbon you took.
Yeah, it was funny. Well, I was working in Muscatine at the Muskie Trading Post. I've had lots of jobs, but I was quitting that job because I was going to work for the Advocate.
Okay.
And my car was going to the garage in Muscatine, and my brother Mark was going to school at MCC, and he was going to pick me up. So I had to call my parents' house to say, Mark, don't forget to pick me up after work tomorrow.
Yeah.
Mark said, there's somebody here that wants to talk to you. We're like,
Oh no.
that was him.
So Dale's now hanging at your folks' place, and oh no.
And anyway, he said, I want to take you on a real date.
What a guy.
Okay.
What a guy's guy. He was such a guy's guy.
I said, okay, fine. Well, that next day obviously was Monday. Well, where the mill is now, that was the junction or whatever they called it. Well, the
The
people
ribeye.
that,
The
yeah,
ribeye back in when I
the
remember it.
people from my job in Muscatine came up there to surprise me as going away.
Okay.
Little party.
Little retirement party.
Right. So Tom Workman and I were sitting in this booth. I graduated with Tom. And we were talking, and oh my gosh, here he comes.
Here comes Dale.
Yep. And that was it. That was it. That was in February, and we got married in November.
Wow. Quick turnaround. But you'd known each other, kind of, known of each other
Yeah,
for a long time.
yeah. And we had to get married in between football and wrestling starting. So there was only 1 week where there wasn't any practice or whatever, and that's when we got married.
That's such an incredible story. And
It's
how many
all
years were
true.
you married?
I think we got married in '84, and he died in 2016. So,
Wow.
um, oh, he was just a great guy.
What do you miss the most about Dale?
Nothing was ever the same with Dale. I mean, we never went anywhere together. After we got married, we were
You know, it's
inseparable.
funny that you say that. We never really saw you two in a car together.
Well,
I-
who would run a ride with him? And go.
Well, you'd never get there. It was drive so slow.
And no, we didn't even go to church together because I'm treasurer at our church. Oh my gosh, would he? Heaven forbid he would have to wait there for me.
That is actually, I'm so glad you said that, because without you saying it, I don't think I would realize it, but you're right. I never saw you guys in a car together, or like really, like it was always known that you guys were married, but I never saw you guys like publicly.
No.
Isn't that weird? But yet you guys were obviously in love, and you guys had a wonderful marriage.
Oh, we did. He was. I'd take him back any day. There's a picture of him when he got inducted into the Hall of Fame at UNI, and we went to have that picture taken. Well, Ben Shirk, that was the only guy that would do it. I mean, the deal would satisfy. And they wanted like a portrait, like a graduation, nice
Sure.
picture. Ben said, I can't do that. I can't do that. I said, why? He said, because my remembrance of this guy is him leaned over, with his arms on his legs. That's the way he sat at every wrestling meet.
Yes.
And he said, that's the picture.
I can picture that right now. Yeah.
And so if you'd ever go to Upper Iowa, where he graduated, his picture's the only one that's different up there.
That's great.
Kids have gone up there, like to play volleyball or whatever, play football. They'll come back. Did you know Dale's picture is on the wall up there? Yep, I do. I do. They loved him. Oh my gosh, when we went back to homecomings, it was just like old friends. Like if you'd move away and you'd come back, they were just everybody. Best football player I ever saw. Best football player I ever saw.
You know what's
And
interesting is certainly when somebody from the community passes away, we all feel it, right? And we all mourn. But I feel like when Dale passed away, it was different. I feel like the town really mourned. And I almost feel like did you feel like you had to share that with everyone? Was that okay with you? Did it make you feel good, or was it just like I feel like everyone, when Dale passed away, everybody went right to their memories of Dale. Like, I remember when Dale, and obviously you want to do that, but you were the one that lost the most there, right? You lost because, Dale was yours. What was that like?
it was good.
Was
It
it
was good.
therapeutic?
It was good. I'll tell you, this is the honest truth. The 4.5 years he was in the nursing home were absolutely the worst. Having to watch him be like that, knowing in my heart that if he knew he was like that, he'd he'd just say, "Take me out behind the barn and
Yeah.
shoot me." It just um, it was just heartbreaking. And all these people put ashes and stuff on their fireplace, mantle, whatever. No, I have this picture, Upper Iowa. That's the way I want to remember him.
Yeah.
I don't want to remember him like he was at the nursing home because that wasn't him.
Yeah.
And Henry Bentley, who I
Yep.
dearly love, told me, he said, "Jane, you're going to have 2 deaths with this." Oh, this is so true. It just scares me. He said, "You're having one death when he goes to the nursing home, and then you'll have another death when he actually passes."
That's
I
that's a
thought that
good
was
that's a good way that's a good way to tee it up for you, just to say, "Hey, I'm here for you, and as hard as it's going to be for me to tell you this, you need to know." And I suppose that almost kind of gives you a little bit of armor going into battle a little bit, right?
it is. It was, how many trips over to West Liberty. There were some days because of school I couldn't go, but 95% of the time. And all day long he'd say, "Where's my wife? Where's my wife?" That was something he could remember. And when I get there, he just totally ignore me. he, he didn't talk. He didn't talk to him, but I can't speak highly enough about that place. They loved him. I see those people on the street, and they'll say, "Oh, we miss Dale so much because he maimed everybody to death because he couldn't remember anybody's name before he got sick." And so he just no. They said, "We just miss him. He kept made our day funny, you know."
100 years from now and a million more volunteer hours later, how do you want to be remembered? Because as much as people talk about Dale, there'll be a day, a long time down the road, but God willing, but there'll be a day where they'll be telling Jane stories forever. How do you want that story to go? What do you want to be on the forefront of everybody's mind?
Oh, Joe, that's a hard question. I guess, I just want everybody to realize that I tried to treat everybody with kindness.
Yeah.
And, they always knew they could call Jane. She would help them out
Yeah.
if she could. I, I know this is cliche. I just want a nice person. That's
Yeah, that would be a
that.
good way to describe you. A nice person.
you know, and know how much I love the school. And, I've been there over half my life when you count
Yeah.
going to school and how long I've been there. And then there always comes the question of, Jane, are you ever going to retire? You
Retire
know,
from what? Right? Because this is your life, right? How do you retire from what you do?
I don't have any hobbies. Well, I have one, but we won't mention that one.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I don't know what I do. I sincerely do not know what I would do. You can't just drive around. Well, I don't want to become the next drive around person at Wilton. And so I don't know. I guess I hope I have enough friends at school if they think I'm slipping, because normally people don't realize that when they're slipping,
Yeah.
that they're good enough friends that they'll say, "Are you seriously thinking about retiring?" Maybe, you know, I don't know. It's just a good thing you don't know what life will bring about. But so far as I'm healthy, which I am, and obviously they must think I'm doing a good job, um, I don't want to quit. My family, see, Sandy, Becky, Terry, Tom, and Lori, 5 out of the 8, they're all retired. In between me, Mark, and Christy. And so all the time I said, I don't know why I don't retire. I said, did I tell you to retire?
Yeah.
No, it's not like I'm trying to make Jane Kreimeyer stayed there for X amount of years. That's not it at all. It's just that I like to go to work. If I had to go to work at 6 o'clock every morning like this,
Yeah.
not liking it so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not liking it, but they're very good to me. I couldn't ask, honestly, for a better place to work. If I want to go down to Texas, you know, they let me go. It's just, if they would ever stop that, that would be a key to me. But no. And plus, right now, when you get to me at my age, a lot of funerals here.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
sorry, Jill, I got to take off. I got to go to the visitation.
Yeah.
It's just, it's just, it's another family there of sorts. And they moved my room this year, so I'm upstairs. So I said to somebody, I'm up as far as I go. I guess the next step is out the door. But
Wow.
anyway, I can't imagine being anywhere else, not involved with the kids and their sports and, keeping score. And
Well, I think I speak for the community when I say I hope you never retire. And I hope you keep doing this for another 30, 40 years.
oh, well,
Because they're
right.
the day Jane officially retires is the day there is an unfillable void. So thank you.
Well, that's nice of you to say. I don't know about that. Anybody can take your place.
Yeah. Yeah, but can they take it well? And that's yeah, your place can be taken, but there's only one Jane and we could sit and chat forever and I want you to come back. Will you come back and sit down with me again because I've got way more questions. But I feel like how long have we been going here? 1 hour. We've been talking for 1
Are you serious?
Yeah, isn't this wonderful? I feel like I finally got to get to know you better. And I feel like there's a lot of people who either watched this morning or will watch it and go, I got to know Jane, so thank you. This has been great. This has been super fun.
Thanks for asking me. I did not tell anybody. Then I started getting all these text messages that said, you didn't tell us you were going to be interviewed. You didn't tell us you were going to be interviewed. And I'm like, oh my gosh. It's because I'm not on Facebook, see?
That's good. Don't get on there. don't get on there like the rest of us. Yeah.
I don't have time.
Clearly, you do not have time.
You
got some volunteering to do. You don't have time. I don't want to see you on Facebook because that's taken away from all the wonderful Jane things that Jane does.
I don't know.
So Hey, I love you. Thank you.
I love you
Thank you
too,
so
Joe.
much for coming on. And Jane
Yeah.
Kreimeyer, everyone, man, one of the Mount Rushmore heads of Wilton, if there
Oh
ever
gosh,
was
they told
one.
me that too.
You absolutely are. So I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you guys all have a wonderful day. Come back and do this again.
Okay.
Love you, Jane.
I love you too, Joe. We didn't even get in about the birthday. That's, I think, how we connected. To
We
be